This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust. My name is Cole, and with me today I have owner and president and founder, all around good guy at Pro Exteriors, Aaron Rogers. Aaron, happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Cole. Yeah.
I can't believe it's full on middle to late April 2025. It just seemed like yesterday that we were talking about how to prepare for Santa's arrival, and here we are. It's already
it's surreal, but I feel like, I have 4 children. You've got your 2 children. I just feel like time, it just flies. I just feel like, you blink, and then 3 months have gone by. You blink again, and then it's fall, and then you blink again, and it's the new year. So time flies.
You're doing a lot of blinking. You have conjunctivitis or something?
I got something in my eye. It's old sawdust from years back.
Speaking of old and milestones and time flying, so we are exactly 1 month away from my birthday. Do you know what birthday this is this year?
48
minus 8. This is, dude. When we were kids and our parents and aunts and uncles turned 40, was this the over the hill birthday, or is that 50?
Well, now you can officially say that you're middle-aged.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah, I think 50 was always over the hill.
Remember all the black balloons and stuff? At some point, 40 was old. And this is the only birthday where I've actually been like, I'm not really looking forward to this. How is it in this decade?
I got to be honest with you, man. I feel better now. I feel my age is less of a conversation now than when it was when I was, hitting that milestone, when I was going from 39 to 40. So I feel like age is less of a conversation. So I'm very happy with my age. I'm very happy with where things are at in life, and that is the measurement of my happiness based on age.
All right. That's encouraging, because I got to be honest, most of my life, whether it be like an instrument I play or sport I play or whatever, people are like, oh, you're really good for that age or for being so young, is what they would say. And now I'm like, I don't really have that to bank on anymore.
Yeah,
now I just have to be good.
You're as young as you feel. I feel like, I was not looking forward to turning 40, and I feel like, physically, I'm definitely in my 40s. Mentally, I'm still, my sense of humor is still kind of like a teenage, early
10,
20s.
12, yeah.
10, 12 easily, yeah. But now I feel like mentally, I feel still very spry and very young. Physically, it doesn't really matter what day of the week it is. Something hurts, but I'm okay with that, because if I'm hurting, I'm still alive.
Very true. All right. Before I turn this into a counseling session and you have to bill me after the fact, we are going to be, while we're not supposed to be talking about the state of me or the state of you necessarily, today's topic is a bit like the State of the Union. You know how in the United States, each January, the president of the United States comes out and talks about the state of the United States.
Yep.
Well, in a sense, we're going to do that today, but I want to tackle the state of the industry in which we live. Okay. So, Aaron, what is the state of the home remodeling industry as we sit here in late April 2025?
So I will say that the state of the industry as a total remains strong as a whole. I think there's a lot of nervous people out there. Certain markets across the country obviously are in much worse conditions than we are. Where we are in southern Delaware, we're 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours from DC, Baltimore, Philly. So we have a lot of higher income, second homes, So we tend to be somewhat sheltered where we are from some of the more harsh realities of the economy.
Well, what if we go back, rewind the tape a little bit, and go back to middle to late 2024,
Okay.
kind of how we ended the year, and then we'll go move forward from there.
Yeah, so I think in our market, like Q4 of 2023, things I think started to slow down. I talked to,
Wait, 23 or 24?
23 is where I went to.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so late 23, we started to kind of see things slow down a little bit. 2023 was a pretty good year. All the way through COVID, we pretty much stayed super strong. Most people had record years through COVID. So 2023, things kind of tapered off at the end of the year in kind of a weird way, in a noticeable way. And then, 2024, we always go through our slower season when it's cold here, and we expect things to kind of open up end of February, beginning of March, as things start to get a little warmer. And we did see that, but things remained steady through 2024 for most people. I wouldn't say that anybody had any sort of record years. For companies that have been in business for long and have like the data to kind of look back on and kind of have their trends as far as like where they are through each quarter. I don't think anybody was lighting the world on fire last year. So I don't think it ever really opened up the way we expected it to. And I think we're during an election cycle, you kind of expect that. People are a little bit more guarded with their spending, kind of figuring out, what's going to happen with the election. So we got through the election, and I think most people, regardless of which side of the aisle won, I think most people usually expect things to kind of open back up and things to kind of increase a little bit more. And I don't think we're really seeing that yet. So I think some people are very, very nervous. I think consumers as a whole, I think, don't have a lot of confidence in what's going on with the economy right now, and I think they're holding tight. So, the economy kind of tells everything when it comes to home improvement, because most of the stuff that we do is not a necessity, it's a want. So people don't spend money on wants when things aren't super great. So
are we seeing an uptick in repairs as opposed to replacements?
So data wise for our company, we definitely saw more repairs in 2024 than we had in previous years. And we're not talking about small repairs. People are definitely putting out thousands of dollars for repairs, which normally in years prior when things were great, a lot of those people would have been kicked over to the replacement category, simply because it never really makes financial sense to spend thousands on something you're going to have to just go and rip out a few years down the road.
Yep.
So a lot more maintaining and repairing than what we previously saw. So
what are some of the other factors playing into the current state of things? I mean, obviously we live in a global economy more than ever, but also within the home improvement industry specifically, what are some of the trends that you're seeing?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so we talked about election cycles. That always has a big outcome on consumer spending. Material costs, man, through COVID, we saw, I can't even count, at least a dozen, over 3 years, we saw at least a dozen material increases. I think in 2024, we had one big one and one kind of like one that was easy enough to absorb. We're about to see April 1st. I think we're pretty much about to see our first real increase of the year. And I would say, based upon the tariffs and stuff that are kind of on the horizon, I would say that we're going to see another good size increase in the next couple of months. I don't think anybody really knows how that is going to kind of cost and who it's going to cost yet. So I think it's kind of a wait and see. As far as our industry, like we do have some things kind of weighing very heavy on our industry, and that is kind of, we have an aging workforce. So, and this isn't just for our trade specifically, but across the board, almost all the trades have an aging workforce. The guys that are above the age of 50 that are kind of getting out of the industry. Some of them are getting out because they physically just can't do it anymore, and some of it are getting out because it's like we have so much technology in use now that the old school guys don't necessarily want to. They don't want to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
They don't want to come to the job that they've been doing for 40 years and have to learn technology now in order to do that job. That's some of those guys just aren't into that. So in that same realm, we don't really have a lot of younger people going into the industry.
We
talked briefly about that in a previous,
Yeah.
So we've got that always weighs pretty heavily. Because every time you're talking about, in order to get people into the industry, you've got to pay them more. And the guys that are considering leaving the industry, we've got to pay them more to keep them around. People are staying in their homes longer, so they're not really they're doing some maintenance stuff. They're doing maintaining with the hope that interest rates will drop and they get to put their house on the market. So I mean, there's a lot of things that really are not great right now. One of the biggest conversations in our industry has been private equity. Private equity's always been here. It's always been a hot topic in certain things, but it was never really like a buzzword or a hot topic in our industry. And we're at a point now where, as the owner of the company, there's not a month that goes by that I don't get an email from at least one private equity firm that's like, "Hey, we're looking for companies in your area, looking to exit." And there's been quite a few very, very large players, guys that are larger names in our industry that, I mean, I never even thought some of these guys would even consider selling. Some of these guys I had, firsthand relationships with, and they ended up selling their companies to very large private equity firms that essentially removed them. So you're talking about companies that, the name of the company and the name of the owner kind of they went hand in hand with each other. So when you see private equity come in, and it can go one of two ways. It can increase the ability of the company. That keeps everybody on board, keeps all the existing employees happy, only basically funds the growth of that company to be able to serve more people. Or it comes in and it tries to maximize the return, which, most private equity firms, that's their goal. They want to come in, they want to, maximize their returns every single year, regardless of kind of what that ultimately does. So sometimes the easiest way to do that is for them to just increase pricing. If we typically charge $1,000 for something, the easiest way for them to increase their bottom line year over year is to do the exact same thing that we've always done, but now we're going to charge $2,500. So the consumer obviously is going to feel that. You're going to feel that across the board. Here locally in our area, plumbing and electrical and HVAC has been the kind of the bigger targets. We've had some of the larger companies in the area that have gotten bought out by private equity over the last couple of years. Some have been renamed, they've been rebranded, and some are owned by the larger corporation, but still have maintained their local name. So we're seeing more and more of that. I don't think that's going to go away. This business, if you do it right, you can make a fantastic living in this business. And I think private equity through COVID realized that the home improvement industry was one of the industries that was not really, really super affected by COVID. We were still considered essential to do what we had to do, and we were still able to go out there and bang out a living, where a lot of industries suffered really, really bad. So they started investing, and I think they realized how they were able to apply what they do on a daily basis to our industry, how they were able to capitalize on that. So there's good and bad. It's, more money behind something typically means you have a better chance of having like a longer term warranty, and you don't have to worry about the company going out of business. So it does give the consumer a little bit more confidence. From a business standpoint, a rising tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. So if every company in the area is charging $1,000 for something you charge $500 more, it allows you to raise your prices with it to be a little bit more in line where the market is. But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. I don't like it, but it is what it is.
So, and 2025, we're celebrating our official 20th anniversary. I know you've been through recessions. You've been through a global pandemic, which there's not many business owners in history that can say that they've weathered that.
Yeah.
What are some of the positives that you could see coming out of where we are today?
Oh,
I want to force you to find some of the positives.
So I'll say it like this.
Are we having to become leaner? Are we having to become more efficient, better at what we do to stand out from?
I would say that in situations like this where you have more companies in the market offering the same service as you, it does force you to be the absolute best that you can be. And I don't necessarily mean that, like, you have to go out there and be the best salesperson. I mean, you have to literally, your entire company has to be at its best.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do what you say and stand behind everything. You have to be the best because, I mean, if you're going to be in the market with, if say from here, I throw a rock 15 minutes in any direction, then I probably got 10 other roofing contractors. So it does force you to be the absolute best. I will say that there's a lot of opportunities now and with people where, I think there's more people interested in entering the market because it's been proven that this is an industry that's not for just tradespeople. So, people that have never been part of the home improvement industry now have a little bit more of a different opinion. So I think there's more talent to be had. There is a push, even though we talked about it earlier about the labor shortage and how younger people just aren't really coming into it. There is a larger conversation happening. There is a larger push to bring people back to the industry as far as the actual people in the field. Mm-hmm. You can make a good living, if you apply yourself, man, you can make a great living at a very young age. Certainly more than I ever made in probably my first couple of years in business. There are some positives that are going to come out of this.
So I know, currently as a company, we're in the hiring process. Has our hiring process confirmed what is happening industry-wide as far as the lack of labor? Are we seeing a dearth or a lack of applicants? Are people just, I mean, there's this weird disconnect between the fact that so many people need jobs and yet we post for a job and hear crickets, it seems like sometimes.
For sure. It seems like the only real, we did a job posting, I think it was the beginning of last year, and we posted it on all the major platforms. It was like, ZipRecruiter, Monster, Indeed. We did Facebook, we did email campaign, we did all that stuff. And we got back a ridiculous amount of applicants. But I would say, like, the ones that came through the major job boards, like the Indeed, the Monster, the ZipRecruiter, and all that stuff, maybe only 10% of them were actually even remotely qualified. So we're seeing more and more people kind of like just throw their names in the hat and hopefully it works.
Yeah. Yep.
From the, we kind of have to separate our stuff into two sides. We have the people that work in the field, and then we have the people that work in the office. People that work in the office, those jobs, we get way more applicants for those projects or for those jobs. The people that work in the field, the people that are actually hands-on, that have the skill set. I think the carpenter position that we're actively seeking for, I think we've had 2 applicants. Both were well qualified. But my hope is to always get a decent amount of applicants so you can sort through, and it's not just about the actual physical skill sets. You want to hire for personality as well. I don't want to hire somebody that doesn't mesh with kind of the culture we have built. I've seen firsthand how quickly one bad hire can affect the morale and the culture of a company on a massive scale, to the point where you have people that love their job, and then one bad hire, essentially these people can come in and these people aren't happy coming to work anymore. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's, it's getting more expensive to get the applicants to actually submit their application. The field people, you almost have to seek them out and like force the opportunity at them.
Yeah.
Which is, and a lot of those guys don't go to the standard Like field guys don't always go to Indeed or Monster, ZipRecruiter.
Yeah, they're not the ones that are necessarily going to have a LinkedIn profile that you can
exactly
go and look at.
Exactly. So, there's ways to target certain people, to put the ad in front of them. But oftentimes, again, from a cost standpoint, it's a lot more expensive to do it that way. And you end up with, way, way, way less. If I put $500 Indeed for any one of the office positions, I can guarantee you I'll get 50, 40 applicants.
Mm-hmm.
If I put that same thing on Indeed for a carpenter, I probably will get for $500. Man, I might get 20. And I would say that probably more than half of them are people that have never picked up a tool, that have like zero business applying for the position.
And they live 4 hours away.
And they live 4 hours. I'll move. If I get the job, I'll move. Yeah. Yeah. We did quite a few of those. The last guy offered, he said he would marry me if I gave him the job. So that was awkward. This was a guy.
Did you give him an answer?
They would marry me. I don't think so. I think I said I'm happily married.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what my response was. I was polite about it.
Did he ask for your social security number too? Because that might have been a scam.
No, but he did say that his father was the Sultan of Brunei, I think, which I looked it up on Google, and the last.
No, that's legit. That is legit.
Oh, that's the legit. Okay.
Yeah, I set up my routing number and account number. We're good to go.
Sweet.
I want to turn things back toward potential customer that's watching this, listening to this. Okay. Why should they contact either us, or if they're listening somewhere else in the country, why should they contact a local contractor today or this month or even this year to do a project, as opposed to waiting? Like somebody that's on the fence right now, is there a reason why they should do something now?
I mean, if we take just the last 5 years into consideration, prices will never go back down. If you're waiting out for prices to go back to pre-COVID rates, those rates are done. They're gone. They've been put to bed. We're never going to see those again. Like right now, again, consumers, business owners like myself, manufacturers, we're all waiting to see what the final outcome on these tariffs is going to, how that's going to affect us. Obviously, anything that has, aluminum or steel in it, we're going to see that pinch a little bit sooner. But as far as the other products that we use on a daily basis, I don't think anybody can really understand what that cost is going to do. Mm-hmm. I did get an email Friday afternoon from one of our distributors that did say, like, we're looking at anywhere between a 10 and 25% increase on products across the board. So again, if it's a $4 product and you have a 25% increase, it doesn't really matter. If it's a $200 product and we get a 25% increase, that matters. Mm-hmm. So again, all the uncertainty that you have about what's going to happen, none of that uncertainty is going to go away. The pricing's never going to drop. And to be honest with you now, like when things are slightly slower, you hold more power in this scenario than the contractor does. So this is a great time to go in there, and you have a little bit more ability if you wanted to negotiate and say, like, this is honestly where I'd like to be at. Most contractors are going to be able to work with you to kind of meet your budget, versus when things are super, super strong. Back in COVID, where we had to adjust our pricing almost every week, every other week, you don't have a lot of power in that situation because there's so many people calling in. The demand is so high. There was no reason for us to negotiate. It was like, here's the price. Let me know or don't. Like, but I gotta move on. There's like 4 other people that I have to talk to today about, their projects. So it just didn't. Yeah.
And lead times are probably better than they.
Oh yeah, for sure. Lead times are where they should be right now. Most windows and doors we can get within 2-3 weeks. Pretty much any other product is 2 weeks or less. Most products are sitting on the ground. We had an issue with most manufacturers limited the color options they were manufacturing during COVID. Pretty much every manufacturer's back to a full color line. So yeah, so now's the time, guys. Waiting's only going to increase the price that much more. So,
Yeah. Well, I've appreciated this candid conversation, even if it's not one that's super fun to have. And the thing that I'm encouraged about is here we are in 2025.
Yeah.
We've been around for 20 years, seen a lot. And so I have no doubt that we're going to be here 20 years from now and having the same conversation saying, I can't believe how cheap things were in 2025.
Right.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being honest and candid, and we'll do this again in April of 2026 and see where we are.
Perfect.
All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. That is all we have for you today on the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, would you please continue to help us get the word out about the show? The simplest way for you to do that is to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on social media, or simply tell a friend. Also, we would love to hear your questions that you have about exterior home remodeling. Please send those questions to info@askproexteriors.com and put "You Ask" in the subject line. We would love to feature your question on an upcoming episode. If you are facing an upcoming home project, we hope this episode has empowered you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, a little bit of research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning.
The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com.